go on. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day? Yes, that's right! I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up, too. That's probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that. Or was the defendant, Lana Skye, also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right. Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs and I went downstairs. I guess you could say he got lucky. What's this about, a power outage? Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil was when that knife went into his heart. That wasn't funny. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor. Apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. How can you know that? Because of the victim's body. It had already been moved. So that means you found the body near Lana's desk. That's right. I think you said earlier it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor. Anyway, had nothing to do with the forgery. So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office? That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt, but moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable, no matter what the circumstances. Is that really how it went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you'd better off staring at the court record. Worthy. Oh. Which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Gotta link Gant to the incident. Okay, there's a thing we're presenting. It's not the rule of law. Just to be safe. Just in case. I kind of want to use this, because there's a fragment found in Chief Gant's safe.
Objection!
You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. The handprint too? Maybe. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example. It's the blue badger we saw earlier. A piece of this jar was discovered in your safe. Not only that, but the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside your desk. You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. What's the meaning of this? Here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit it then? That you were involved in the forgery? Me? Or do you mean you? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto?
Objection!
However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? If Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yeah, he's probably at that point. Well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and the relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. Protect Gumshoe! My! Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Let's see, what is it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when these pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene won't help me out in any way. When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I'm the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Oh. And to plead I'll press charges, I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. Oh, right, Edgy. In return, though. I know. That place, right? What? What was that? Hey. He's bribing the judge. He's bribing a judge. I'd appreciate it if you just stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. Eh? I'll have you know, back in the day, I broke into a cattle ranch and tipped... Mr. Wright, what are you saying? Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof of the contrary, you need to do it. You're going to need it later. What are you talking about? What else? Talking about when Righto's prints were found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, that would prove his investigation was illegal. I've never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't need necessarily constitute forgery. If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery... I'm not through speaking yet, right? It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted. Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in an evidence list. For all we know, it could have been suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right. The chief is talking about a possibility. So long as you can't rule that out, your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Come on, Righto. Do you think about it? There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil? Not sure I care for the word murder here. But in the end, the person responsible for Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma. Well, now do you see? Rearranging punishing would have Really, Chief King? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you reaped from all this. I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would be, of course, the position you have, Chief of Police. The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Oh, that's a good one. Do you really think I'm that incompetent? Huh? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of the SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes. He was going to be a chief anyway. Careful when pointing that finger, or he might end up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There. It's all out in the open now. Udgy, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? I wouldn't be anybody's accomplice if it wasn't for me. You think Von Karma's more slimy? I think they're both at different types, but same levels of slime. They both killed somebody. At least what happened. Nothing in it for you. Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. That's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something in it for him? Due to his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? Yes. See you, Fantasia. Good night. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Right? It appears you're positively determined to betray the chief. As a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then. Who is the person you believe Chief Gant may be helped for forged evidence?
Take that!
Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant? I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Lana Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. The reason, of course, is self-profit. What do you mean? After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed Chief Prosecutor at the Prosecutor's Office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all this? He would be able to use the Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? I'm old. Where am I? Why is there a gavel in my hand? Reminds me of a rattle. Oh, hi. I'm old. Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Yeah, that. Okay. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive? To appoint her as Chief Prosecutor so you could control her. Right, oh my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I have done such a thing? Lana? She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. Afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than conjecture. Unless That is also what happened in the incident. This incident, or which one are we talking about? Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. It's almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Dude, he just threatened him in court. What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. Nani? Order! I said order. Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Hmm? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse chief police of blackmail and murder. It's impossible. I'm never gonna get it. I'm never gonna find a voice for him that I like. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. Throw that buck back. Here we go. He's wearing an orange jumpsuit for prison. He's ready. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder? Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? The evidence will tell. Let's see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got. Very good. Show us the evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. Okay, I think I'm too far ahead. Okay. I mean, that could be Victor. Fingerprints on what, Agent? He wears gloves all the time. As Fantasia actually mentioned, Gant means glove in French. You think it's the screwdriver? I was gonna look at the phone real quick. Let me look at the phone real quick. Okay, no, it just has that one last call. Never mind. Because she said she had gotten the call from Gant, so I was wondering if he was on the phone or not. So let's go screwdriver.
Take that!
Well, Chief, so long as Righto here is tossing out things regardless of the relevance, mind if I toss something too, Chief? This shoe should do nicely. I'll chuck it right at you. You always were quite the joker, weren't you? Don't oops me. Okay, it's not screwdriver. I know it's hard with all this going on during this trial, but try to think back to what happened in the evidence room 4 days ago. We did find something during yesterday's investigation. Something that proves Gant entered there. Oh, the list. The ID list. Okay. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on that day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7 sevens. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that that's my card number. It's your number. How do you know that? The safe in Sheen Scans offers requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. You don't mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 77777777. Same as the remaining ID number on the list. Chief Gant, You entered the evidence room on that day of the crime. Order. Chief Kent, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximal extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, you admit it? You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime? What about it? I'm chief of police, whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met Detective Goodman. What do you mean? Trial's purpose is to determine if Lana Skye is guilty. No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? Yeah, he's totally sweating. In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. I haven't had to tie anything with the prosecutor's office for a while. Or for Goodman and him? And we have the epic music? Oh, hold on. Can only be submitted to the chief of police. Bam. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filed out a lost item report. You would have had to give that report to the chief of police. Yet, you were in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filled it. He filled it. How do I know? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him. There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered that room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait, there's more. The chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. Oh, whoa, what was that? Jeez. He was going Super Saiyan. Did you see that? Whoa. Jeez, man. Give me a second. The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. Oh, God. After the murder, you contacted Lon at the prosecutor office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright. The victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all I thought it was just a useless clue, just taking up space. But the game wouldn't delete it, because it was in the way. Prove it! To move the victim bond, he used this. Screw you.
Take that!
This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. Why, it's a screwdriver, of course! It's a transformer in disguise, right? And it picked him up. Right? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Ugh. I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. He probably used that to break the trunk. Because she said the trunk was broken. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't... But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car? Yeah, unless of course you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. Transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. So good. So dirty. Is there no room for rebuttal for the defendant's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This is not a photo of the body being stuffed into the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It was a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Please say something, Chief Gant. I believe... Your time's up. Sorry, Wright, but I'm having lunch with District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're going to make it in time for the early bird special. The cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. This is not a right to be casually invoked. I plead the fifth. There are so many amendments in the Constitution of the United States of America. I choose the fifth. I plead the fifth. If anybody knows where that's from, you have my respect. Because that actually is from something. I wasn't making it up. There are certain risks to be considered. You're just going to run away after all this. Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? I'll look up Dave Chappelle, Fifth Amendment. Plead the Fifth. Dave Chappelle. I plead the Fifth. I plead the Fifth. But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Now, Mr. Wright, Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman. I just got a flash of when I first played this, and I remember one of these choices really matters because of this. No evidence shown without the approval of the police department, and unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Now, the things we haven't really presented yet. We haven't really used that for the fingerprints yet. There's this on the back. You thought it was Dave Chappelle before I said it? Yeah, Renji. So at least somebody got it. So I'm not totally dumb. Again, because I think I have to say I have no proof yet because I don't meet both the laws of evidence. It's no use showing evidence I'm not sure of myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. So, see, Yudgy? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief. What? You just watched it, Brick? What'd you think? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Yudgy, I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement. What? Objection! Lady Luck. Maybe we should have a word with her. What do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. Yeah, I agree, Brick. Lady... Oh, another witness. In the absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right here in this very room. Who is this person? Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the only one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth. We can't just stop. Yes, Your Honor. Defense calls forth... You! Take that! A winner is you! She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on May 21st, or February 21st. Her task to dispose of the victim's body in accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Call the judge. Ooh, I call the judge to testify. The court will now take its final recess. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. The court is now Hold on. I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Dude, he's straight up threatening people in court. Why is everybody okay with this? Of course, you never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet. Oh, okay, if there are any other further objections, the court is now in recess. Like, they just let that happen? So what can I say except you're welcome to the stream. Agent, thanks for hitting that friendship button. Welcome. Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief, he's something else, eh, pals? Gumshoe. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry. Don't worry. I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Wait. He wants to take Maya's place? You can't take Maya. Still, looks like we're out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said. Chief, that's not a right to be casually invoked. What are the risks? Please explain, Game. What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Oh, hi. Emma, are you okay? Yeah, well, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on? Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. I think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as his chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside. Force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. This is why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you don't blame anyone, blame society, pal. What did society do? I'm confused why that was even... Wait, it's gumshoe, never mind. Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait in... No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Oh, we're doing this tonight. We doing this now. We doing this tonight. All right. But we are going to take that short little break. I've been sitting down for a good while. I want to make sure I get up, stretch, get the blood moving again. Get another bottle of water just to be ready and relieve a little bit. So, guys,